I'm Lou Brutus. Rory Rodriguez of Dayseeker joins me now. Pleasure to have you on. How are you?
I'm great, Lou. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. I have to think this is a pretty interesting time for you guys because you've had the band together. It's been a little over a decade, and yet I feel that you are, increasing in leaps and bounds in the people that you're reaching. I think you've been hitting a lot of new audiences of late. Is that the vibe for the band?
It seems to be, yeah. We just crossed into 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and I think our song "Without Me" is top 30 on the rock charts, which is really cool. But we've seen a big spike recently, and we're very grateful that it seems to be coming together for us.
You and the band are originally from Orange County, which I've always found an intriguing place. It's essentially a big suburb of Los Angeles. It's always been very politically conservative, and yet some of the best punker bands, some of the best metal bands come from that area. What is it about Orange County that kind of makes it a pressure cooker for music?
I don't know. I think there's so much opportunity because there's so many different venues spread out around here, and it is because other major venues in LA are pretty close by. But yeah, I mean, I grew up listening to this band Thrice, and I know they're local natives of Orange County, and I kind of got my start in sort of just coffee shops, and then eventually made my way into Chain Reaction, which is kind of like a staple out here in Orange County. And you're right, it's pretty crazy because even Chain Reaction is like a 400 cap club, and there's just t-shirts everywhere of all these. I think if you sell it out, they put your t-shirt stapled against the wall, and you can just look up and see just like, I think there's a Foo Fighters t-shirt, and there's just crazy stuff everywhere. But for whatever reason, it does seem to breed some pretty great bands at the end of the day.
What were some of the early shows that you saw growing up there?
Man, I saw, I mean, older, like I guess more like emo stuff when I was in high school. But I saw Taking Back Sunday. I saw The Used. I saw Brand New, Dashboard Confessional, Yellow Card, which is funny because I feel like I was a little bit more into like alternative rock and maybe like pop punk, and then I somehow found my way into like metal and metalcore, like in my like 20s, and then I started, kind of watching bands like that, like Architects or Bring Me the Horizon. And I mean that's the great thing too about living in these areas. It's like if I want to go to a show, like most tours hit these markets, and I usually don't have to drive more than 20 or 30 minutes to see a show. But there's definitely some great bands that come through this way.
You yourselves in Dayseeker, I think, have been really good about being able to play different sorts of bills, varied bills, particularly at festivals where you might get some rockers, you might get some emoers, you might get some punkers. And for the most part, I think everybody plays well together. Do you ever sort of shade the set one way or the other, dependent on whatever else is happening around you that day?
That's funny you mentioned that because I saw we just did a tour with Bad Omens, and we were following this more metal hardcore band called Make Them Suffer, and we definitely, I think, lean more into like our new stuff and the stuff from our album before that, and it's definitely more in the alt rock kind of arena. And Make Them Suffer is they're a great band, but they're very just metal and scream driven. And Bad Omens is like a nice mix of of both. They can kind of be softer and kind of metal. But I think like some fan was trying to give us like critique or reception that he was like, I think you should have added more metal songs in. And I kind of was just like, I don't like, I don't want to trick somebody into thinking we're like a heavier band than we are. And then they go home and listen to us and they find that it's a completely different genre. And I feel like I'm also just kind of the opinion that I've been on tours where there are like alt rock bands mixed in with metal bands. And I actually think it's like a cool change of pace. Like it's nice to go to like see a tour lineup and you're not listening to the same band play 4 times over. So I definitely think we kind of just play like our major singles and songs we think kids want to hear, but I can't say we don't really alter the set to like fit a tour package. I feel like we are who we are, and I feel like if you like us, you do, and if you don't, you don't.
Were you surprised when you realized that the band's actually been around for a decade now?
Yeah, it's a long time, man, especially feeling like, honestly, I mean, the first 8 years or so wasn't super profitable or a lot of success. It was definitely for love of the music, but I feel like definitely right around the 8 year mark, it started kind of feeling like, how much longer can we keep doing this and not be able to pay our bills? And we're really lucky that definitely the last couple of years have been really, really kind to us. And now this is pretty much all myself and most of the other guys do, for income and for a job. So we're very lucky in that extent, but it is crazy, yeah, when your iPhone will remind you of stuff that happened years ago, and it's just like, yeah, like we definitely, I think, started recording our first album in 2012, which is just wild. It's very crazy.
Do you or does anybody else who's been in the group for as long as you act as an archivist of any kind? Does somebody save the set lists or the gear or the passes or any of that stuff? And I'll tell you up front, you're probably not aware, I am a sick fucking degenerate when it comes to saving everything from every show I go
Oh,
to.
really?
Are you or anybody in the band like that?
No, I can't. I feel like the only thing I really make it a point to hold on to is just all my tour laminates. So I feel like I have somehow managed to keep and hold on to like every laminate I've gotten for every tour we've been on for the last 10 years. And it's a pretty healthy stack. And I just feel like it's a cool, like, that's just a cool thing I'll be able to like organize. I think we went out with a guy and he had like some it was either like a frame on his wall, or he had like a booklet where he had organized them in, and it was really cool just to see like just this big display of just how many tours he had been on and how much he's traveled. So that stuff's important to me. I'm a little bit, to be honest, my dad was kind of like a next level hoarder, so I feel like I try really hard not to hold on to something if I think it's going to be like junk in a couple months or a year, but it is I think that the laminates are the only thing that I really hold on to.
Well, if I could give you a collecting tip, particularly for the laminates, just get a plain 3-ring binder, go to some place where they sell trading cards like baseball cards, and
Yeah, yeah,
get those plastic pages that the passes will fit in very well. But I
yeah.
would certainly hope that somebody in your band is keeping track of all this stuff, because before you know it, 10 years will become 20, and you'll be thinking about doing books or a retrospective album or something, and you're going to wish you had all of that seemingly useless crap.
You're probably right. Yeah, I'll start holding on to more of this useless crap, I guess, then.
Plan it out now. Now then, from ye olden days of the band, are there any, I like to call them spinal tapian moments where horrible yet wonderful things may have gone on? I know early on you guys would travel, like many other bands, super on the cheap. Tell me about some of the stuff that you guys dealt with and lived through in the super early days.
I mean, yeah, it was just a lot of us being kind of crammed into a passenger van, and I mean, a lot of van breakdowns. I remember, yeah, I think I got like bronchitis or tonsillitis. I got really, really sick in the middle of a tour, and then we took a few days off so I could recover. And then when we tried to finish the rest of the tour, and I think we were in Philadelphia on the other end of the country, our van died, and we didn't have a lot of money, and we found some guy off Craigslist, and we paid him $1,500 for this like van from the 90s. So I think it capped at like 70 miles an hour on the speedometer, and we somehow, man, we crammed everything into that van, and we kissed our old van goodbye, and somehow that van made it. Like, I think we had another couple weeks of tour left, and we finished out this tour with with I Prevail, actually, and we were driving home through Arizona, and Arizona into California has this really big, steady, like, it's like 60 or 100-mile steady course where it's just mostly uphill, and I could feel the van just like fighting to stay alive. And it was funny, and it ended up making it back home, and then I think I tried to turn it on like a couple days later, and it was dead. So it literally just barely lasted us until that point. And now I mean, now we're really lucky. We own like a nice Ford Transit that's like a high roof, and but we rarely tour in it. We do like bandwagons now, which are just like smaller, more like compact buses basically, and it's definitely a trip when I look back on some of the more nitty gritty days and what we had to go through, and just the comfortability that we have now when we tour, we definitely don't take for granted.
One last thing from those old days, and I'm going to go on a bit of an assumption here, but is there any way you can make someone who has never sat in a band van understand the smell?
um it's just like, I guess it's like if you were in a high school gym just full of dudes, just a lot of BO, and no, we're a pretty, we try to be kind of a cleaner band, but you can only really do so much at the end of the day. I mean, like, it's just sometimes you have like your sweaty clothes out, and I don't know. We try and keep air fresheners pretty handy, when we used to do it. Now we're like I said, we're really lucky with how comfortable we are when we tour now. We can like store our dirty clothes in the bottom bins in the bay, and we get to do laundry like every couple days or once a week. So we're lucky now, but no, it definitely has an odor. Depending on if you're, well, it depends too if your guys like to smoke weed or anything too, because that's a whole other smell that gets factored in.
Yeah, that's a stank on top of the stank. There's good stank and bad stank. I suppose if there's a
Yeah.
good do that. But all right, now if we could let's talk about Dark Sun and how you all approached that record. So when it came time to sort of talk about it and get the songs together, was there any particular kind of mindset for this go around?
I wouldn't say so. We kind of we worked with our producer Daniel Bronstein. He did the album before that called Sleep Talk, and he I think was the first person we worked with that really kind of understood what we were trying to do, and I feel like he actually improves it and makes it better. So we knew we wanted to go to him again for Dark Sun, and I think Sleep Talk, our second to last album, we really honed in on more like pop structured rock writing, and then I feel like with Dark Sun, because the reception was so well to that first album we did with him, we just wanted to lean a lot more into it. So it's very much pop structured pretty much the whole way through with the songwriting. We really just tried to focus on like solid catchy melodies, and it was, I mean, obviously it wasn't planned, like things just happen to you in life, but yeah, my dad ended up passing away from a really long battle with cancer, and he ended up kind of dying when we were in the middle of working on the album. So I'd say about like, I think there's five songs, just about half the record is about him and just my experience with his sickness and dealing with his passing. And so it kind of did transform into this like kind of intense album about a lot of grief and loss. And I guess you never really know like what it's going to turn out like until it's done, but I'm really proud of it, how it came out at the end of the day.
Was your dad aware? And if we're going into places you'd rather not talk about, we can make this part of the
No, it's
conversation.
okay. It's okay.
Was he aware that you were maybe writing about him or were thinking about him as you wrote?
Uh, I don't know. I really don't think so. I've definitely written songs about my dad in the past that he knew about, because I would write about his experience while he was sick, but we really didn't start kind of diving really deep into the lyrical content, and kind of the core of those songs about him until after he passed away. And so it is, yeah, it's kind of tragic, and it's kind of sad because he didn't get to experience or like hear these songs, but I think it keeps me happy because I know he was always really excited or felt really honored if I chose to write anything about him. And so I think if he knows, or if he got to experience it in life, but I think he'd be really excited to know that there's like half of an album that's dedicated to him, and that it happens to be like our, like, commercially our most successful album at the same time. So
Is there any particular moment related to the band that you can point to that was really a happy time for your dad? Like, was there some huge gig that he was able to come out to and stand on the side of the stage and watch you do your thing?
yeah, it's honestly kind of I think the last time my dad saw us play was it was actually an acoustic show. So it wasn't really us as a full band. Because the other thing too is my dad, on top of having cancer, he also had Parkinson's, and so generally he was just like not physically very comfortable in his body a lot of the times, just a lot of aches, a lot of stiffness, and so sometimes getting him to it was hard for him to drive, and then sometimes getting him out to a show and then hanging out till I played at like 9 or 10 at night was a little bit of a task. But he he caught it was the last show that we played, I think. One of the last shows we played locally before the pandemic shut everything down. And that's kind of it's a little bit of a bummer. It was cool for him to see it because I feel like that show was really shortly after our album Sleep Talk had come out. And it was definitely the first time where I was just like, wow, the crowd is like really loud when they're singing. Like this is not like it wasn't very we would usually play shows and it was like people that were there to enjoy us, but it wasn't like a sing along kind of vibe. And it was I remember he came up to me afterwards and he was like, there's like a lot of people who knew the words. Like it was crazy. But it's just it's kind of unfortunate that COVID played out the way that it did, because we didn't really get to play shows for like I think almost a year and a half or 2 years following that. And he we had some shows booked with We Came as Romans. It was like our first tour back. And I think it was like September or October of 2021. And we basically he was pretty sick though in early of 2021, and I think in January they were like, yeah, he's probably got like 6 or 7 months, left to live. And I was I was just hoping that I was hoping he'd be able to, stretch his health and make it out to see us play, because we had a local show in Pomona, in California, and I just thought it'd be cool for him to see us play live like one last time in a full band setting, because I could tell that the crowd response is going to be different. But I'm at least glad that he caught us for that acoustic show, because I could tell it kind of caught him by surprise seeing how many people knew who we were.
Did any of your dad's struggles figure into Without Me as they did with other tunes on the record?
No, actually. So Without Me is Without Me is one of the few songs in the album it's just actually about just a particular girl in my life that I've had an on and off kind of past with, and just sort of more about heartbreak and just sort of like dealing with like how can the connection you have with a person is so good. It's like how do they function, or how do they feel the same living their day-to-day life like without you being a part of it. So that's a little bit more on a typical girl heartbreak song. It's yeah, my dad didn't have a ton to do with that one, to be honest.
Wouldn't you have figured that once you became a well-established rock star that you'd never have problems with a girl again?
No, I think it's well, I mean there's a lot of factors to it for sure. I think dating now is or interacting with women is complicated, because sometimes I don't know the intent behind, like sometimes I feel like now if I get female attention, it's like I can't tell if they just like the idea of me because I play in a band, or if they actually have an interest in like who I am. It makes me miss being younger, and I still loved music and I played music, but I think a lot of people in my life viewed it as somewhat of a hobby or like a side thing because I wasn't making money off of it or touring full time. So I felt like if I met somebody and there was a connection, it felt pretty genuine because it was really just me as a human being. Versus now, I feel like I'm a little more guarded because I've definitely met women before who we go out and it's fine, and then and then I find out like a month later that they're a Dayseeker fan, but they like didn't mention at all when we were hanging out that they were, and it makes me feel strange that it's like a clout chasing thing. But no, it's okay. I mean, the one I wrote about that girl too is that was kind of a longer stint. Like that's kind of a weird off and on thing for the last decade or so. And it's just somebody I had a really deep connection with. So, I mean, it would be nice if things were simpler, but that's funny you say that. I feel like it's actually gotten more complex the more popular we've gotten.
Does the girl in the song know that she's in fact the girl in the song?
She does actually. Yeah, we don't really it wasn't like super volatile or anything. I decided to take some space from interacting with her because I didn't think it was good for my mental health. But we were we worked with this pop producer named Matt Squire when we wrote Without Me. And I had a really rough demo of it, and I was hanging out with her one night, and I think she asked to see some of the new stuff, and I just told her in passing, like, yeah, I kind of wrote this one about you. So she's very well aware, but there's a lot of songs in our discography that are about this one particular woman. But she seems honored about it. She was a really nice girl. It just wasn't in the cards for us.
One last question for you, Rory. Why does it seem that the unpleasant things in life make for such better art?
I don't know. That is a great observation, because I think there were a few times I've tried writing happier songs in my life, and they are so much more challenging to
You didn't
write.
have it in you.
No, I did. I mean, I wrote a song about my daughter at the end of the album, and it's still like a little melancholy in tone, but the point is, it's just that I love her very much. And then there's another song called Homesick on the album that was kind of about me feeling like it was okay to be happy again after my dad died. But but then the other 9 tracks are just really depressing. And I don't know, I think it's because if you're in a good mood, like I don't know, I think like with sad music, it's like you want to grab onto it because like you need something to help you get through it. I feel like with happy music, it's like, yeah, life's great. You can go listen to some Justin Timberlake, or some some major pop, and I like that stuff. But I think our music is specifically targeted to like kind of help people if they're going through a really rough time. And so I think it feels more powerful because it can help people when they feel like they're when they're kind of running at the end of the candle when it's burning out. But it's happier music is a lot more challenging to write. I will say that.
Well, that's a good place to leave it at. I'll look forward to either catching you with Silverstein, or I believe you were on the bill for Rockfest in Wisconsin in July. So if I don't see you at one, I'll see you at the other, but I appreciate your time.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks so much, Lou. Appreciate you.